Okay, so listen, I'm gonna.
And then everyone else can come and stand behind chairs. Wish under better circumstances. I think the chair. It's a weird way to have everyone together.
I know, it is.
Good to be together. Yeah, when you're on the grass.
Absolutely. But you know, we tried to make it as fun as the kids. Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good diversion for sure.
Anyone who needs a chair is welcome to come sit in front. Here, Val.
Yeah. You go through the whole.
Do you want me to come back?
Sorry?
This is a tough color.
Yeah.
I've set the eternal hours before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Marla was a woman who loved life. She loved being a mother, a bubby, a partner, a sister, a friend. She did as much as she could to squeeze all that she could out of life, and reflected in her final days that indeed she did lead a happy life. Someone with just a fraction of the challenges that Marla faced in her life might have found themselves with a different kind of attitude. But not Marla. She was very successful in all that she did, professionally, of course, but more than that. She was successful in living a life of deep meaning. As we come today, I want to place us in this moment of our Jewish year. In these days, as we begin this holiday of Passover, we're in a period of Omer. We count every day between Passover and Shavuot, 49 days. But what's interesting about the counting of the Omer is we don't count down, but we count up. The Israelites didn't know how many days would be in the desert before arriving at Sinai, or how many years they would be in the desert after that revelation, but before reaching the land of Israel. And every year we count up again, because Omer is a time where we are continually going to the next in our pursuit of spiritual refinement. We are not counting down the days that have passed, but that rather we are counting up, climbing one step higher every day. And this, I think, is how Marla lived her life, making every day count. It's hard for us to be here without her, of course. And so we hold on to things that can give us comfort, certainly the comfort of memory and stories, and the comfort of tradition. So we'll share first these words of Psalm 23. English is in your handout. Begin with the Hebrew. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binat asher yarbitzeni, amei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshover. Nafshi yeshover, yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo irara. Ki imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged sorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, kosi revaya, ach tov achesed, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, Veshavti Veshavti bevet Adonai. Veshavti bevet Adonai. Leorech yamin. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God leads me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Another psalm is Asa Enai, Psalm 121. Look up to the mountains. Marla lived in many different places across Canada. She started her life in Montreal and eventually came here to these mountains where she made so many wonderful friends and established a beautiful life with Alan. We sing these words. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. I mentioned the comfort of tradition is an important part of our grief and our mourning, but of course the comfort of memory and stories is so much more precious. And to share a few words of remembrance of their mother, I first would like to invite Alyssa and then Richard.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing those beautiful songs with us. My mother, Marla Kott, was an incredible woman. For her 70th birthday this past November, we put together a book for her. I asked people to write about the impact she'd had on them. I even hired a designer to help assemble it. He quoted me a basic price. We didn't know if anyone would write. If they did, we figured, given the short lead time, we would end up with a few lines per person. Unfortunately for my designer, he grossly underquoted. We ended up with a 100-page opus filled to the brim with memories and anecdotes from friends and family across the globe, exemplifying Marla's strength, wisdom, and love. I should have known. She was the heart and head of our family, which at one point in time was just me, her, and Rich, but today includes our spouses Dave and Kelsey and our kids, Julian, Evie, and Cleo. In the last 20 years, Alan was a core member of our family too. My mom was so happy with you, Alan. She told me all the time how much she enjoyed just being with you, hanging out at home, reading, laughing. She found peace in your calm presence, in good and hard times. Thank you so much, Alan, for giving her that. And she really did deserve more peace than she had oftentimes. Her marriage to Morty, although we remember happy times from their first home on Eldridge and bringing the babies home and weekends at the country house surrounded by beautiful rose gardens, the ending was difficult. For years, Marla invested time and energy into making sure that she and we could move on. And move on she did, rebuilding herself and our family from the ground up. Despite the wounds of the divorce years, she charged bravely forward with renewed optimism into a new life in Vancouver, running a fledgling name badge business with her friend Ellen and later Kristen. Those years were exhilarating, but starting over in a new city with a high school age son was not easy. Marla's deep intuition that she was on the right path sustained her. I remember how proud she was when she purchased her first home in Vancouver on 10th and Arbutus. She totally Marlified it, commissioning gold walls and hanging her first big art purchase, a red triptych, in the living room. Art later became a great passion in her life, but this was proof that things were coming together as she intended. In those early Vancouver years, my mom worked 7 days a week, and opportunities for social connections were few. Her decision to join the Women's President organization was a consequential one. As was so often the case, what originated as a business decision became a personal one, and many of Marla's dearest friends today are WPO members, and I see many of them here today with us. She was remarkably free of bitterness and envy. Though she achieved success, she was glad to surround herself with friends who were themselves successful, and she took so much joy in their success as well. Not once can I recall her diminish or belittle someone else to elevate her own stature. Her relationship with her oncologist, Dr. Barb Malofsky, is another example of a transactional relationship turned friendship. I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Malofsky and the BCCA for their excellent care of my mom over the last decade. Despite all that my mom endured, she was so thankful for the blessings in her life. I can't recall how many times we'd be on vacation in Muskoka, one of her favorite places, or out to dinner together, or just sitting on her beautiful rooftop terrace when she would turn to us and say, "We're so lucky." She retained this deep gratitude for life, and I believe this sustained her even during those years of unsteady health. My mom's resilience was awe-inspiring for many of us, but that's not why we loved her. We loved her because she was amazingly fun. Seeing my mom on the dance floor was joyous. She had her own style. She gave herself over to the music completely, which shouldn't have worked, but it did. She was a great dancer, something I was skipped over in the gene pool. Alan recalls he would often spin Leonard Cohen's "Dance Me to the End of Love," and they would share a slow dance in the living room. Her love of music ran deep. One of the reasons she missed our Montreal synagogue, Shar Shemayim, was because of the hauntingly beautiful choirs there, which me and Rich were a part of for many years. She was proud of Richard becoming a musician. She totally appreciated his genius and loved watching him play. And she was equally proud of Richie's career leading music and drama at Greenwood, where he passes on to the next generation that infectious love of music he inherited from her. Alan and Marla's relationship was also rooted in music. They loved going to concerts together. Seeing Stevie Wonder in Seattle for his Songs in the Key of Life tour stood out. Marla had just been diagnosed with cancer, and this concert brought both Alan and Marla perspective, levity, and hope. Alan and my mom always loved going to the Commodore and stood on the floor right at the front, letting the loud music wash over them like a pair of teens. A recent bright spot for my mom was going to the Taylor Swift concert in Toronto with me and Evie. She had just finished radiation a month prior and pushed herself hard to get well for that show. We were 9 rows from the stage. 3 generations of her women. My mom looked breathtaking in her folklore era outfit. And my mom was the best shopping partner. When I was little, we would rifle through Vogue and Bazaar. She would ask me to pick out my favorite item on each page, something I do with my own daughter today. Then as I got older, whenever we were in the same city, we would spend our days together, snaking up and down Newbury Street in Boston, combing through Nordstrom's, and of course our favorite, winding our way around Granville, stopping in every boutique and gallery, getting cappuccinos and connecting. This hobby passed down to the next generation. Julian has special memories of walks with Bubby to Relics, where they would dive deep on his life and problem solve. Yes, Marla had an unlimited stamina for shopping, but that was merely a proxy for spending time with those she loved. Whether you spend time with her in person or spoke to her on the phone, which I did for at least an hour a day, sorry, Alan, you felt her warmth. Her soft side was equally large in its scale and reach as her savvy. Marla's radical acceptance of people was her hallmark, and this allowed her to form enduring bonds with people from different chapters of her life. From growing up in Hampstead with her sisters and her cousins close by, to the university years at Brandeis, to her accounting brethren, and the parents and daughters from the Bat Mitzvah group whose lives have been intertwined for 30 years. Looking around the table at our wedding, you could really see the value my mom placed on her golden friendships, as well as the effort she continued to make in forming new ones. She cherished people for who they were. You could see this in the distinctive way she appreciated her grandchildren. Right from the beginning, she saw Evie and Julian not as kids, but as individuals, and the relationships she had with them were informed by this wise understanding. I am sorry that she did not have quite as much time with Cleo, but you only had to see my mom holding her for a dance party to know it would have been just the same. Marla was known for her advice, oftentimes solicited, but often not too. She loved to give it. There was no problem she couldn't see her way out of. In fact, I'm not even sure she saw things as problems. To her, obstacles, no matter the size, were a normal part of life, to be expected and managed. My mom's point of view and guidance meant the world to me. I collaborated with her on nearly everything. She really had no agenda. She's the only mother I know who literally had no requirements for her daughter's wedding. She let me and Dave run with our vision completely and did not have a single critique before or after. I know how lucky I am to have been raised by, to have been partners with, such a supportive, positive woman who believed in me without reservation. Her only goal was to give me confidence in my own direction, the very tools I'll need now that she's gone. I'm sure that's no coincidence. I wasn't the only one she cheered for. She acted as a guide for many of us, her hands on ours, helping us steer. Her advice was always direct, sound, compassionate, and effective. It will be hard for us, for me, without her hand on mine. We hold a lifetime of her lessons. What would Marla do will become the sharpest tool in our toolboxes. And her wisdom went hand in hand with her generosity. She donated substantial amounts annually to her favorite charitable causes, even when she had very little money herself. She loaned money to friends with no expectation of being repaid, and she gave of her time and energy to women who needed it, in business or otherwise. Looking back, I don't think she could have achieved as much as she did in the absence of that generous spirit. She would not have put it this way, but every good thing she did in her life was paid back so many times over in the depth and strength of her friendships and ties with her family, and in her remarkable ability to take such pleasure in her many happy experiences. We can take solace in the fact that Marla was at peace when she passed. She told us she felt so loved. She felt that the kindness she had put out had radiated back. She had no regrets. But I'm sad. My mother, my best friend, my mentor is gone. I am not the same person I was last week. She is irreplaceable. With my mom gone, I'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. But she left us better than she found us, and we could build on that. That's what Marla would have done.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. What a remarkable eulogy. I want to invite Richard to come share some words of memory as well.
Mom, one of my favorite things about her was her smile. She was always full of life, full of joy, full of smiles, laughs, and love. She had so much love to give to her partner, Alan, her children, Alyssa and me, our partners, Kelsey and David, her grandkids, Julian, Evie, and Cleo, and to her lifelong friends. And I know how deeply everyone loved her back. She was so deeply loved. My mom was strong. Shortly after her diagnosis and lung surgery, we took a trip together to France and Spain. While climbing the stairs of Notre Dame, I remember feeling nervous about her breathing. When we finally reached the top, we were both out of breath, and she said, absolutely beaming, "Can you believe I made it up all these stairs?" She was so positive and so full of joy. After my sister Alyssa went to post-secondary, it was just me and my mom for a few years here in Vancouver. I got fairly involved in music in and outside of school, and she drove me to every single lesson, rehearsal, and concert, and there were so many. She was so proud. She was so proud of us. My mom was an avid reader. She devoured books, one after another. She read crime, romance, nonfiction, anything. Sometimes I'd ask her what she was reading, and she would shrug, often not even knowing the title. I'd come back and she'd be on to the next one. She loved to travel. Some of her fondest memories were of traveling with Alan to Europe, Southeast Asia, and Mexico. She adored the Muskokas in Georgian Bay in Ontario. For over 10 years, she rented cottages there every summer. Sometimes we'd brainstorm other options, but she'd hastily say that there was just something so special about those lakes. She loved spending time there with her family. She danced. If you were lucky enough to have seen or have gone dancing with her, you'll know that she transcended to another dimension. Pure joy. She visited me once in Toronto shortly after I'd moved there. And after dinner, I suggested we go to see some music at a venue called the Orga Room. We got there, and of course, before I knew it, she was in the center of the dance floor, her hands in the air. She was clapping, smiling, and I admit, moves I'd never seen. I ran into a few friends there, and they were all saying how awesome my mom was. She was so fun. I wish I could dance with her now. She loved music, every genre, from Stevie Wonder and Carole King to Al Jarreau, Chick Corea, and so many others. One of her favorite recent memories, as my sister mentioned, was celebrating her 70th, seeing Taylor Swift in Toronto, with Alyssa and her granddaughter Evie, and it meant so much to her to be there, and I'm sure a memory Alyssa and Evie will treasure forever. I think she saw beauty in everything, especially visual art. She would see a piece, no matter where we were in the world, and she would fall in love. She mentored and inspired so many people throughout her life, family, friends, and all those she worked alongside. Her impact was profound. She was brilliant, driven by boundless passion, and always excited to share that energy with the people around her. Her legacy was one of inspiration, leaving a lasting influence on everyone she touched. I was young, maybe about 8 or 9, and we were on the way home from one of my piano lessons. She stopped to pick up some food, and I was waiting in the car. I noticed a Sony Walkman in the side pocket, I picked it up and hit play, and I was then listening to my mom doing stand-up comedy. And I didn't really understand what it was at the time. I was pretty young. It's actually fairly confusing. And she came back, saw me listening, and she grabbed it. She grabbed it as quickly as she could. And then she asked me how much I'd heard. And, I paused, and then I started laughing, and she started laughing. And, she told me about this class she was taking and how she'll later perform at a comedy club. She loved to laugh. She truly did it all. Her life was full of spontaneity, laughter, and endless adventures. She was part of something called the Dog Run in Montreal, where she'd take our dog Sandy there almost every day, and it was a park, but importantly, it was a really close-knit community, and she made a lot of wonderful friends there. I think it was her deep love for dogs that eventually led her to hosting a dog show a few years later. And there I was, a teen, standing at a dog show, and my mom was on stage hosting this event. And she was beaming, she was laughing and effortlessly calling this show, and everyone adored her. We have always been so proud of her. The last few days we spent with her were really hard. We were sitting together, and she looked at me and said, be open to anything and everyone, to any opportunity, but most importantly, keep an open heart. Mom, I will miss you every day for the rest of my life. You are the world to me. I love you always and forever, and I will always make sure to smile like you did.
Thank you so much, Richard. Now going to recite the words of the El Malay Rachamim, in which we ask that Marla's soul dwell in the heavens above. El Malay Rachamim shochen bamromim Amse menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina Im kedoshim uteorim, Kizor harikakia masirim et nishmat Mindel Shena bat Ziska umalka שהלכה לעולמה בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Mindel Shena Badziska Umalka, our beloved Marla Kott, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. So we are going to now together as a sacred community do one last act of chesed, of loving kindness for Marla, which is to help to bury her body here in this cemetery. And so I'm going to first invite her family members to come and place earth in the casket, and then for everyone else who is able to help us as well to fulfill this mitzvah.
but they're from Pittsburgh. They lived 6 months ago.
Over there.
The name is Leslie.
No, you just wrap yourself up in a cloth. Oh, no. Yeah, like in your
Happy not to be Canadian recently. Big word today on the news.
So in the United States, Social Security doesn't attach to immigration. In Canada it does. So when you see all the news on the news, people don't realize our system is like that. So there I was. So I just got one for the reality.
I own a wholesale
passport.
preserve.
Naturalization. And I've been paying taxes in the US since I moved in '84. I remember when I was born because in Green Bay. Just
Yeah.
make sure they got the right papers so they wouldn't feel, I swear, I said, how many people deserve to be in this line with me? You ain't trying to happen. They didn't have everything, and here I was. I had been Medicare secretary.
Friends, I'm going to invite everyone to please regather now. We're going to invite the families, so Alan and Alyssa and Richard and Julian, Evie and Sarah and Maris, if you'll come together for the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. And before we recite Kaddish, I just will share the words in the poem inside of the program. When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need from me. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your joys, multiplying your good deeds. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not in your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our Torah teaches. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Turn the page and invite the family and those who choose to join in these words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaychon uv'mechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipahar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shmaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'brama hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. Amen. Yizichronah livracha, may Marla's memory always be a blessing. Amen. So as we turn now to leave the cemetery, we want to invite all who are gathered to form two rows facing one another. I think just along this path that's here, so that the family can walk through and feel the embrace of your presence. And I'll invite you in a moment to recite words of consolation.
Family,
Come over this way.
Come. Come. Bless her.